Alright, before I begin the actual review, I want to explain something real quick. Originally, I had intended to review Sonic Rush Adventure here, but after staring at a blank Word document for 2 hours, I decided I really couldn't think of much to say about it that I didn't already say in the Sonic Rush review. They're largely the same game, but as to not completely gyp you, here's the Cliff Note version. The gameplay is still fast, smooth, and a lot of fun. The stages are cool, but none of them are as good as the stages in the first game, though the enemies are less obnoxious and you fall to your death less, so it evens out. The graphics are still in need of work, and the music, while good, isn't as good as the first, save for that ridiculously catchy opening theme. While I do like pirates, the concept behind the game is a little silly. Using your stylus to plot your destinations in the boating minigames are incredibly tedious and very dumb. And even though I don't hate her as much as certain other characters, Marine the Raccoon is quite possibly the most useless character Sonic Team has ever made. Other than that, if you liked the first one, you'll like this one, but the differences are minor, and overall I'd recommend the first one if I had to pick just one. Anyway, now let us move on to the real review. Pretty much ever since video games were a thing, franchises have crossed over, whether it's Ryu and Mega Man duking it out in Marvel vs. Capcom, or Jimmy and Bimmy Lee teaming up with the Battletoads. Crossovers are common. So it's no surprise Sega wanted to cash in on this trend with their own line of crossovers. Enter Sega Superstars. The series' first outing was an iToy game on the PS2 back in 2004. It was just a bunch of minigames featuring locations and characters from several Sega franchises. I would have reviewed it, but I don't own the game, nor do I have an iToy. I guess the game did alright, because Sega decided to throw their hat in the ring again 4 years later with Sega Superstars Tennis, an arcade-style tennis game in the same vein as Mario Tennis. But is it as good as the Mario Tennis games? Well, let's find out. But before we start, I'm taking a look at the Wii version of the game, because the Wii is my console of choice, and it was also the cheapest to get it on. Judging by these reviews here, I made the right choice. Since there's no story in the game, I guess let's start with the gameplay. The game gives you the option to play with a number of different control settings. You can use just the Wii Remote, the Wii Remote on its side, the classic controller, or the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combination. It is disappointing that there is no GameCube controller support, especially since I don't own a classic controller, but that's just a minor complaint. If you choose to use the Wii Remote by itself, or with the Nunchuck, in order to hit the ball, you have to waggle, like in Wii Sports. Holding down the A and B buttons allow you to change what type of shot you like to take, or power that shot up. And if you hit them alternatively, you can lob, or even add a splice to the ball. While the waggle works alright, I guess, I tend to just use the Wii Remote on its side. Nothing against motion controls, but they've never quite been developed properly yet, and it just feels off to me. Not nearly as smooth as Wii Sports, and even that isn't perfect. When the Wii Remote is on its side, you just use the 1 and 2 buttons to hit the ball, and the D-pad to move. That's my biggest problem with this setup. It's just better to use a joystick when moving around in 3 dimensions like that. No matter what the case, the controls work fine with a few minor exceptions, no matter which setting you choose, so it's entirely up to what you prefer. The characters do feel a little slippery at times, though. Everyone moves pretty fast, and they slide a bit when you let go. It can make hitting the ball pretty difficult at times. The gameplay, while far from bad, just isn't as tight as the Mario Tennis games. Speaking of which, much like Mario Power Tennis, each character has a unique superstar move they can use when they hit the ball enough times. Basically, all this does is create some sort of gimmick. Sonic becomes supersonic and the ball curves at weird angles, Beat spray paints the court and makes it slippery. They're neat and can affect the game, but you don't get them enough to really notice. One thing that bothers me about them is every time you use it, the game triggers a little cutscene showing the character start that move. Mario Power Tennis did this too. It stops the action, and it's just annoying. Obviously, the big draw here, and chances are the reason you'd even be interested in this, is the selection of characters. The game features 16 different characters from throughout Sega history. Obviously, there's 5 different Sonic characters, but there's also classics like Knights, Alex Kidd, and even Gilius Thunderhead from Golden Axe. That's pretty darn cool. Though I do think there was room for a little more variety. While it's great to see franchises like Space Channel 5 and Jet Set Radio get some love, did we really need Ooh La La and Pudding, Beat and Gum? What about other Sega franchises like Billy Hatcher, the franchise only I care about? Or Shenmue, the cult classic? Or Virtua Fighter, the franchise more people care about than I was aware of? Or, hell, what about King from Virtua Tennis? I know he's a little boring, but it seems like a perfect fit. Ah well, while more could have been done here, it's nice to see some of these characters again. Thankfully, more franchises receive representation in the form of courts and minigames. The bulk of the game is played in Superstar mode. In this mode, you compete in a bunch of missions and areas based on different Sega franchises. Each of the playable franchises are here, but you also have stuff like Space Harrier, Outrun, Puyo Puyo, and even Afterburner. It's pretty cool, and this is one thing the game has on Mario Tennis. The Superstar mode is actually a lot of fun. Most of the missions and minigames are centered around teaching you how to play the game, but they never feel like tutorials. Sure, you're learning how to aim by filling in graffiti on Jet Set Radio stage, or how to move properly by avoiding bombs on the Sonic stage, but it never feels like work. It's a nice, fun little challenge. Also, look at how ridiculous this is. I'm in Scrap Brain Zone, listening to Sonic Heroes music, dodging enemies from Sonic 06. Sonicception? The minigames are where this game really shines. It's a blast hitting tennis balls at zombies or scoring combos in Puyo Puyo. I especially love the Space Harrier and Virtua Squad stages. You use the Wii pointer to aim and you take out enemies with tennis balls. I'm playing Space Harrier as Gilius Thunderhead with a tennis racket. This is awesome. The minigames are actually more fun and, honestly, more challenging than the actual tennis. Whenever you play in the tournaments, which you have to in order to unlock the hidden characters, the CPU always seems like such pushovers. I'm trying to unlock a hidden character. Why is this so easy? It's even easier when you have a CPU as a doubles partner. You can literally just stand there and they'll do all the work. It's kinda pathetic. I hear the difficulty is a little higher in the other versions of the game, so maybe it's just the Wii, but still, it's kinda sad. Graphically, the game looks alright. I mean, it's a spin-off arcade tennis game, not like anybody is expecting Uncharted levels of quality or anything. I know the Wii is capable of better than this, but it doesn't really look that bad either. The music, on the other hand, I have a problem with. Not because it's bad, in fact, it's all quite good, but because none of it is original. It's all just ripped right from the other games. With games like the Mario spin-offs and Super Smash Bros., they at least make some original remixes of classic tracks. While the music from Nights into Dreams and Jet Set Radio is great, it would have been nice to hear something original, or at least a remix. Also, what is Sega's fascination with Sonic Heroes and the music from it? Seriously, this is Green Hill Zone, not Seaside Hill. Stop it! The characters' dialogue is all reused from past games too, with the exception of characters like Alex Kidd and Gilius. It's all fine, I guess, but as with any game like this, you get pretty sick of hearing the same lines over and over again. I can only listen to Dr. Eggman laugh or Ulala say, "I kicked butt," so many times before I mute the TV. Overall, your enjoyment of this game will depend on how much you like Sega and tennis games. It's far from a bad game, and some of the minigames and Superstar mode is awesome, but it's just not as fine-tuned as Mario Tennis in the tennis department. If you like these characters or enjoy the premise here, you'll likely get some entertainment out of it. If you don't care about playing as Amigo or Riella, then, well, you should probably give it a skip. For my money, I enjoyed it, especially that Space Harrier minigame. This has nothing to do with the review, but I've always loved how in these type of games, everybody uses a different character. I like to use Ulala. How about you, Lala? Little Disney humor for you there. I mean, she's just really good, and you gotta admire somebody who plays tennis in high heels. Anyway, if you have this game, leave a comment and let me know who you play as. I'd love to know.